The Universal Law of Practice, a wisdom teaching from the Intergalactic Alliance of Light Beings. Channeled for you by Canadian psychic medium and multidimensional channel, Tracey Milne. Greetings, friends. Today's original message was to be titled An Examination of the Law of Discipline. But even as I begin to channel this message, I have come up against some resistance to that particular word. Chimera has been kind enough to replace that word with one that I'm far more comfortable with and a much simpler application to this universal law. I give you the universal law of practice. Enjoy. The universal law of practice is an interesting, energetic component that can help all of us Earth Star angels to stay in balance as we progress from one level of experience to another, something we have been developing our entire lives, whether we realize it or not. The universal law of practice reminds us that practicing any combination of efforts needed to accomplish any chosen task improves our odds of success over time. That is how experts become experts, and how ascending Jedi Masters become ascended Jedi Masters. Many on Earth use the phrase putting in my 10,000 hours, which states that 10,000 hours of personal dedication put into any venture, dream, or goal creates self-mastery in that area of life. The best example of this being learning to move under one's own will with focus, balance, and momentum in the right direction. Think about it. No one expects a new human to go from being held to walking on their own in under a year. But often that expectation of that kind of growth we apply to ourselves in adulthood. The law of practice can help us to stay out of self-judgment long enough to work through the necessary steps needed for natural development. In other words, you must first learn to crawl before you can walk, then run. But many humans forget or dismiss this natural progress and the practice needed to become skilled in any area when attempting new things or targeting new goals in adulthood, and that is where this law is best applied. Artists, musicians, singers, actors, dancers, athletes, teachers, parents, chefs, yoga enthusiasts, personal trainers, long-distance runners, cyclists, dog walkers, meditators, and dieters all work with this universal law in some level because they have seen that an application of personal dedication while refining approach and techniques over time will naturally produce winning results. We have participated in the law of practice leading to self-mastery since we were born, beginning with practicing making sounds go together until we could produce a word that made sense to someone else, learning how to walk or learning how to drive much later on down the line. But basically, anything new that requires a certain set of skills to complete can benefit from the application of the law of practice. We won't say practice makes perfect because there is no perfect, or because everything is already in perfect alignment with Source, and instead we will say practice makes positive performance consistently possible. Often the hardest part of applying this universal law is when we come up against patterns of practiced resistance in thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that are judgmental, self-demeaning, and confidence-crushing. As hidden beliefs, both acknowledged and unacknowledged, turns resolution for change into just another pipe dream. For example, if you're someone who's decided to go on a diet and lose 20 pounds, you recognize that certain activities or choices or patterns must first be redirected and refocused in order to obtain your set objectives. You start eating healthier and replacing old food with new food, and the first 15 days are often quite easy. It's the next 15 days that you need to be able to establish new patterns by practicing them often and repeatedly until you get the hang of the new approach or new way of interacting with your world inside and out. In truth, the difference between any area, success, or continued failure is a combination of preparation and beliefs based on how your spirit sees you and not how your ego sees you. If a child was self-conscious about falling, say, then they would slow down their progress when learning to walk. The very young are brilliant teachers of the law of practice because they have not yet acquired the self-judgment, a learned shadow behavior. And if you prepare but do not feel worthy of receiving or maintaining any new skill, desire, or goal, then the receiving of that thing will be fleeting, as the idea that you are not worthy will send the stronger signal and repel the desired results away from you before you get a chance to take hold and form a good new pattern, a pattern of success. Expectation of perfect performance anytime you try something new can often lead to giving up or walking away before the benefits of any new project can be seen or felt. When it comes to the garden of your mind, whether it is a bad habit you're trying to break or a new habit you're trying to establish, whatever is removed must be replaced by more desirable form. That is the law of balance. And it works in conjunction with the law of practice because it helps us to recognize when we are in sync or alignment with how our higher self is seeing things and how our natural skills are allowing us to perform and what our expectations may be holding. Application of this universal law begins with recognizing that something is out of sync, out of step, or out of alignment with how you desire things to be. All changes start through recognition to understanding of the discontent that you feel within and the next step you would like to take. Which direction would you like to go? What would you like to experience instead of what you are currently experiencing and not enjoying? Many creative acts begin because we have discontent with our current circumstance. Let's say you go out for a walk and you get splashed by mud puddle water. Your discontent with being dirty would bring in the process of wanting to be clean, and that is when the signal to go take a shower will come through your mind. Now, you've probably taken a shower 10,000 times, so it's no big deal. You could probably even do it with your eyes closed. But just imagine for a moment how you would feel if you didn't understand how a certain shower worked, or if, for example, you had no idea what a shower was in the first place. Which is why practicing staying out of self-judgment can be very beneficial. Otherwise, you can block yourself or stop your growth with unnecessary roughness towards self. Do you see what we are saying, dear heart? Some things you have practiced so many times, you have a muscle memory attached and neural pathways built into your brain. You can practice thinking hopeful, uplifting thoughts, or you can practice thinking defeating thoughts. This, too, is a good way to apply the law of practice. Become aware of your inner dialogue. Use it to direct yourself. Use it to course correct yourself. But do not allow it to stop you from moving forward or from applying practice to new knowledge until you become an expert in that field which you require to know more about. The law of practice works in conjunction with the law of choice, the law of expectation, the law of patterns, and the law of balance, as well as the law of higher will, and helps to put the human star angel more in charge of positive results. By applying the law of practice, you gain freedom to grow at your own pace without the need to compare yourself to another or compete before you are ready. And the neatest part of working this law comes in the form of confidence. Practicing anything naturally helps you to build confidence in your abilities to consistently perform well at any given task, because you have evidence that your efforts are getting you closer to your goals. This confidence multiplies quickly, manifesting in other areas of your life, encouraging you to try new things and have new experiences. As with all other spiritual laws, application and approach is not about anyone else's expectation. It's all about you working through yours. The law of practice will not only help you to meet your own expectations over time, in many cases, you'll find you actually exceed your expectations. We thank you for joining us today for our examination of the law of practice, formerly known as the law of discipline. Join us next time when we will examine the universal law of balance. Until then, shine on, dear Earth Star Angels, in light and love. On behalf of the Intergalactic Alliance of Light Beings, I am Chimera. Namaste. If you've enjoyed this video, check out more of our offerings on YouTube or go to whatcomesnextforyou.com to sign up for one of our private consultations and galactic guidance sessions. whatcomesnextforyou.com. What's in your future?